As promised, this is a short little video about how I made my bunk cover. I am not a professional by any means. Everything I'm going to show you is what I've learnt myself off of YouTube or from just knowing about crafts and different bits like that. After I posted about my bunk cover, I received quite a nasty message from a man who does truck upholstery, and he wasn't best pleased that I was going to show you people how to do it the way that I done it, and he tried to be like really nasty about how it looked and stuff, but I think he just didn't want the work taken away from him. But most average truckers don't have 5 or 10 grand to chuck at their truck, and they can't have it off the road for 2 weeks while it's done. So I don't see why the average trucker can't just have a little bit of luxury if they're willing to put the work in to make it themselves. And this man is now blocked and he can jog on. So I made this over 3 weekends, a little bit at a time, but I think if you had all the stuff together, you could actually achieve this in a weekend. So what I will do now is run through everything that you actually need. A piece of hardboard or MDF around 3mm thick. A piece of foam cut to the same size as your bunk. I used soft at 2 inches thick. Wadding slightly bigger than the size of your bunk. Some carpet adhesive. A drill and a hole saw bit. I used a 32mm. Your chosen fabric. I used a soft PVC. Your chosen button. You can get self-covered buttons, so you can use the same fabric as you use for the rest of it. A ball of wool or some thick, strong yarn. Some strong darning needles. A stapler. Some staples. Some wooden batten. Some screws. A jigsaw. A tape measure. And a pencil, scissors and ruler. The first step was to mark out and cut out my hardboard. I made it so that it was 1 inch smaller all the way around than my actual bunk. I then marked out exactly where I wanted the holes. Mine are about 10 centimetres apart, but this is personal preference. I then drilled through where each button would go. I covered the hardboard in adhesive spray and laid the foam on top. I put something heavy on top until it's set together. I then used my hole saw bit to cut chunks out of the foam right above the holes that I had drilled through the wood. I sprayed the top of the foam with adhesive and stuck the wadding to the top of the foam with a generous overhang. I placed the fabric over the top and started with the middle button. I took a long piece of wool, folded it in half, threaded it through my button, and then I threaded all 4 pieces through my needle. Then what I'm going to do, if you can see, is basically I've started off from the middle of the whole segment, so I need to do it in diamonds. So I think my best step from here would be to do these 4. So for this instance, I'm going to do this one up here, and what I do is I press my hand on the back where the hole is through the MDF and just push down with my finger to find whereabouts it needs to go. So it needs to look equal and line up. So hopefully now, once I get my thread, my button on it, it should go more or less straight through, as you can see, and then it's a little bit tight to pull it through, but it's worth it being tight. You want all this to be like tight and neat really, and then you can pull it through and see if that's about right before you actually staple it down. You want all this to be, you can fold it so that it looks the part. You know how they look on their professional jobs. And then you turn it over, pull as hard as you possibly can. Get your staple gun and staple it down, and you go over and over, over. What's he called? Over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. But it's really tight. Be okay, isn't it? And then I'll just stick a couple more in because, you know, you got to make sure, aren't you? So this is what the actual backs will look like, so that it's all tight and neat, and they shouldn't come apart. There you have it. There's my extra button. All looks tight and neat. So I'll just get on with the rest now. I removed my bunk from my truck and I built a wooden frame inside. I only use it for storage, so it didn't have to be neat. But if you use it as a bunk to sleep on, you may want to make it fit closer to the sides. I placed the upholstered piece that I had made on the floor and then placed the bunk on top with the wooden frame inside. Once I was happy with the positioning, I pulled the fabric up and over and stapled it to the wooden frame I had made for the centre of the bunk. I then did the same on the other side. I then carried on this process all the way around the bunk, little bit at a time, swapping sides, cutting, folding and stapling around the fixtures and fittings. I think this would have been hard to do on my own, so I was very grateful for the help of my lovely assistant, Ryan. I thanked him with a breakfast roll and a cup of coffee. I then fixed the bunk back into the truck, and actually this was an easier job than I thought. And there you have it. That is how I made my bunk cover. So I think the beauty of doing it yourself is the fact that you can choose whatever you want to cover your bunk in. You don't have to be stuck to certain colours or materials. You can do whatever you want. And this is just a guide. You can elaborate on whatever I've done and make it even better. If you do make one, please post it and tag me in it so I can see all the different unique designs. Hope this has helped, and I hope it's not been too boring.